everybody, and welcome back to today's video. Today's video is going to be one of my theory videos, and specifically a game theory. I like video games, and I thought this would be probably a pretty interesting one for you guys, because it's made me pretty angry when I went looking on this online, when I kind of had a little realization last night while on stream. And when I went to go watch a whole bunch of videos today on game theories, I noticed nobody's actually talking about it. When I went to go look this up online, I noticed, again, nobody's talking about this. So, I'm going to get right into the meat and potatoes of this video right at the start. I'm not going to be one of those YouTubers that holds out on the big thing until the end. I'll talk about it right now. And then if you choose you want to stick around, that's fine. If not, well, that's fine too. At least you got the theory in. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that Michael from GTA 5 is Jimmy from Bully. Now, let me have a moment of your time. Last night when we were playing this, I was playing Bully. You can go back and watch the stream because it's up on my Twitch still. There was a scene during it where Jimmy said, "I'm going to need a therapist one day to talk about this stuff." Well, as we know, because you meet literally, that's the first time you see Michael in GTA 5, is coming out of the therapist from talking to him. There is also a scene in GTA 5 where Michael's berating Jimmy, his son. And he says, "I used to run things, I used to beat people up and do jobs for money." That's literally the premise of Bully. You go around doing jobs for money, beating people up, running the school. So, both of them have said things to allude to each other. As well as, hear me out with one last little one. Okay? Normally when you name your children something, it's for a purpose, right? I played GTA 5 like 6 or 7 times. I don't remember ever hearing about a Grandpa Jimmy, or an Uncle Jimmy, or any character named Jimmy. So that makes me question, why did Michael name his son Jimmy? If not, and just game theory here, if not in a nod to his old life, or his first name. Now, there was the meat and potatoes. I'm almost 99.999% sure that's right. Hollywood does this all the time, where if they have like something gonna pop out in a movie, they had this problem with Tom Holland, you notice this a lot. And this is where it like really kind of exposed with a lot of stuff with Hollywood. Not as bad, but they will lie or hide as much as they can, or try to not say anything about things that they plan on coming out with in a movie, or, you know, because that just if they say it in an interview, that just ruins making money off that. And there could be a game down the road where they will connect both characters. So that is very likely possible. So now that we're done with the game theory that I'm very, very sure is right. I'm 99.99% sure that I'm right. And that is basically the meat and potatoes of this video. So you guys are going to get a quick one on that. But now I would like to move on to some more things in the game that may be less true, but they still deserve a nod to have some thought towards. I want to start off with the dynamic between Jimmy, Petey, and Gary. It is basically the same as the dynamic between Lester, Michael, and Trevor. Michael occasionally takes shots at Lester. Jimmy occasionally takes shots at Petey, but they're never serious shots. They're just friendly shots. It's Gary who's constantly on Petey, and it's Trevor who's constantly on Lester, which makes Michael have to lay him off and try to stick up for Petey or stick up for Lester as much as he can. And the same thing with Jimmy. It's Gary who lays on him to the point where Jimmy has to lay him off, just like with Trevor with Lester. And now I'm not saying that that is what's going on there. But it also leads me into the second theory. I'm not saying that one is right, but it does lead me into the second theory. Has this been happening for years? Notice the line when Michael's talking to Franklin, and he says, I've been in this game for a long time, buddy." Well, as we know, Michael was part of Crime City and had a different name at the time. Then he had a different name during the first robbery to go around. Then he changed his name for GTA 5. What if the game he's talking about isn't specifically a certain crime due to, like, when you look at his career path, he's had several different careers. First he was in a Crime City as a serial killer. Then he was in for a GTA 5, but had a past life as a bank robber, and then had become a bank robber again, but like a little bit more than a bank robber this time around. So it's like he's constantly changing his name and changing things that he does. So I don't think when he says, "I've been in this game for a long time," he's exactly referring to the robbery game. I think he may be referring to switching his name, meaning these identities have changed before. Which then brings me back to the theory I was talking about before. What if there's something wrong with Trevor? AKA, possibly, could have been Gary at the time. And his brain's just going on him all the time. As we see in GTA 5, Trevor, like, fully hallucinates his mom there. What if his brain's been going for a long time? And Michael and Lester thought they were free of, per se, Gary in GTA 5, but then he ends up coming back, and they end up having to do what basically Petey and Jimmy have to do in Bully. And that's keep a close gear on Gary while consistently fighting Gary. What if Trevor's always been having this happen where he forgets about them for a few years and they've always been friends? What if Lester and Michael have always been covering for Trevor? It's just been an ongoing, constant thing where they all have been changing their names and trying to live under different lives. Now, this last little theory here, actually, there's two little theories, and they're both, I'm not going to lie, on the wilder side. You don't have to listen to these ones if you're like, because again, these ones are like wilder ones. I'm pretty sure they're just more fanfic than what they would be theories, but they do have a stance, and it's not like I'm pulling them from somewhere. This is my own brain thoughts. So, I'll stick with this one first. Have you noticed there's a similarity between the way that, like, okay, not the looks, but the way that Amanda acts and Lola acts? They're both kind of, not that they're both cheaters, but they're both cheaters in the same aspect. They both cheat openly without caring. They both try to manipulate the person, Jimmy, or in Amanda's case, Michael, to thinking that it's okay and they can work through this little incident. It's just a oopsie, but she openly is okay with it. Well, consistently saying she's not a hoe, which is what Lola does all the time. There's a whole scene in the stream last night where Lola like openly says she's been kissing all these dudes, but then she's like, "I'm not that kind of girl, though. It's just circumstances." Now, the last one I'd like to talk about is more wilder than what it should be, but it's okay. I'll start with the first one that makes more sense that everybody knows. Obviously, Lester is Zero. I'm very, very, very sure Lester is Zero from GTA San Andreas. Yeah, GTA San Andreas. But at the same time, I think that might be Petey. I think that might be during a little stint where, like, just like in GTA 5, during the first little bit, Lester and Michael have broken away from Trevor for a while. It may be during a stint where both Trevor and Michael had broken off and they weren't talking to each other. Well, then that would make sense. And it's very likely that he may be Petey. Because Petey doesn't look like Lester, but Lester looks like Zero, and Zero looks like Petey. Obviously, if you take a picture of somebody as a kid, and then as a really old person, you're gonna be like, oh man, that's you? You're gonna be pretty surprised. But if there's only a few years in between, then you'll notice the similarities, and that's where it kind of catches. There's a few years in between, obviously, Petey and Zero, which means you can see the similarities. And there's a few years between Zero and Lester, so you can see the similarities, but you wouldn't necessarily see the similarities between Petey and Lester. And I'm very sure maybe, just maybe, Michael was Claude. Now that one, I'm going to leave it on that one because that one was a more wilder one because I'm not sure that one is right. That's more fanfic on me. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed making it, and I'd suggest looking this stuff up. I'm very sure that I'm right. I'm 99% sure I'm right, and I'm surprised nobody's talking about this. Biggest question, why would Michael name his son Jimmy, if not in a nod to his old life? Anyways, like, subscribe, and that was me. Have a very nice night, guys.